Hello, friends. It's me again, Tillery Timmons-Sims, your host at Conservation Stories. Conservation Stories is a podcast that is sponsored by the Sand Hill Area Research Association, or SARA, as we often call it. SARA is a organization that is interested in all things human flourishing. That's an easy way to think of it. So anything that will impact our lives in a good and bad way, we want to make people aware of it. We are the founder, Lacey, and I, as you might know, are from an ag background, and our guest today is also from an ag background. However, he is not quite in our neck of the woods. So Brian Gilvesey is here, and Brian is a friend that Lacey and I met in, of all places, Chicago, at a regenerative farming conference that had 3 farmers, I think, there. It was an interesting time, and of course, Brian, you found out pretty quick how spicy Lacey can be. So she added some spice to several of those meetings or talks, and then we connected with you because you gave us a presentation on your organization, and I was very intrigued. And so you and I have connected since then and wanted to bring you on to talk about your organization. But let's start out with a little bit about your background. And you're not from Chicago. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got started in the organization that you're working with now.
Thank you, Tillery, for having me. And yes, I have met Lacey and I enjoyed the spice. I am from, I live in southwestern Ontario, Canada. That is the most southerly point of Canada. We're about 1,500 miles from where you're sitting now, Tillery.
Okay.
But Canada's interesting in one respect. We are at the same latitude as Northern California. So we're a little bit of a temperate climate here because we're surrounded by the Great Lakes. But if I want to locate you for Americans, if you were to drive directly from Buffalo to Detroit, you'd find us right in the middle. So we actually live south of Detroit, or west of Buffalo. I've been on this piece of land here for 40 some years. I bought this land in 1979. And our community grew nothing but tobacco. We have very sandy soils here. We grew tobacco as a community for a long time. When that business went away, we all had to sort of reinvent ourselves. And what I decided to do was raise Texas Longhorn cattle on the grass. We market them directly to the public here on our ranch. You can see some lovely examples in the background of our cattle. So we had that connection to Texas, that's for sure. These cattle thrive here. They make a unique beef product, and they fit inside our environment here, which we like to say we have the perfect sort of stewarded ecology here. And the cattle harvest what God gives us from the sun and the sky. We make a really premium product and push it out the front door. About 19 years ago, I got involved in the program that I'm going to talk to Tillery about today, this ALUS program, Alternative Land Use Services. I started as a third participant farmer because I felt like I was undervalued as a steward and an environmental contributor in the way the world works. And this program spoke to me.
I totally agree. And I really just... It reminds me in some ways, and some people see, I think, a little bit of the overlap between our stormwater conservation districts. Big difference, private money, not federal money. And so I really appreciate you giving us your time today. And this may be a podcast that may or may not be applicable to all of our audience. But I'm particularly... I really want to provide a way for farmers to learn about what you're doing, because I think that I think the potential for being part of something like being part of ALUS is really a good opportunity for adding some value to farmers.
Yeah, and part of this is a little bit. It's a simple human thing. I feel all of us in agriculture across the globe, as a matter of fact, feel like there's fingers being pointed at us and we're being judged. And I really feel like we need to turn the table on that. We need to be seen as the contributors to the wellness of the planet and the people for far more than just the food and fiber we provide, but also for what we call in our parlance, the ecosystem services, clean air, clean water, biodiversity that help support life on the planet. So it's not just about food, it's about about all the other things that we contribute.
I like that, ecosystem services. I mean, that is a really great way of putting that term, and it doesn't have the baggage that some of the other terms like sustainability have.
None whatsoever, and that's the beauty of it. It's something that the people of the planet need ecosystem services, like they need provisioning services for biodiversity. They need cleaner water that we can filter. So it's part of provisioning. It's part of our productive experience as farmers and ranchers. And I'm here to try and raise the profile of this in a programmatic sense, where we seize this agenda and sort of declare ourselves as a new environmentalist, or maybe the forgotten environmentalist might be a better term. So
yeah, I love that, and that's why I wanted you to come on. And I've asked you if you would go ahead and run through your PowerPoint so that farmers, if this catches their attention, can really get some more specifics.
As Lacey scolded me in Chicago, my pictures are far too green and lush for your experience. But make sure you understand that our program now operates in 41 different communities and landscapes across North America. So it's highly adaptable. But here's the thing in the nut. There's a cohort of people, farmers and ranchers, that can meet the challenges of the planet today, and we can deliver nature-based solutions to solve the planet's most pressing environmental problem. That's adding a new dimension to our CV, what we do as farmers and ranchers, and what we can get paid for to do. So I'm here to talk about this conceptual framework. ALUS was the original frame that this is put in. Alternative land use services means we shall use our land in an alternate way and produce an ecosystem service. We are a principles-based organization. And one of the things that's near and dear to us is that we find value in people and the things that we do. And ecosystem services means we're valuing nature that we can produce. This isn't one of those games where we're doing environmentalism or stewardship in lieu of food. What we're saying is agriculture and nature can meet. And if we decide to harness the land, skills, and knowledge of farmers and ranchers that can deliver nature-based solutions, we can help tackle big issues, namely biodiversity loss. Water issues are coming to the forefront. And of course, we're all experiencing the climate as it's changing around us. We can help our communities adapt to a changing climate as these rainfall events seem to get bigger and stronger and that sort of thing. Our farmers and our system deliver ecosystem outcomes, and it's not solely targeted at government. It's targeted at people that need the service. So think about governments on one hand that need to satisfy some priorities, but businesses want to address their landscape impacts. Organizations want to see more biodiversity, for instance. Municipalities have a deep vested interest in the benefits that we can provide to them upstream of their towns and cities. But we produce both environmental and social benefits that accrue to people off our lands, to the public, for the long term. Our program was built by farmers. There's a document online called a Farmers Conservation Plan, which is what this is rooted in. Again, I mentioned again that we are rooted in 8 principles. Because we're built by farmers and managed by farmers, we are able to create grassroots program that truly represents our local knowledge and our skill. So we have our network of 41 community organizations that deliver the program. That means there's well over 330 farmers and ranchers sitting in governance of these communities and providing leadership and all their skills and talents. We do 4 simple things through our organization now. So we advance this basic notion that I've been talking about, the social and cultural shifts that position us as solution providers. We are also, because we're community-based, nurture a lot of cross-sector partnerships and community-level collaborations. I'll speak to that in a second. We also feel it's essential to prove to the world our work. So we do work to quantify the ecosystem services that we produce. That's what we get paid for, is the ecosystem services. And we're using technology and research partnerships in many dimensions. And lastly, we're driving investment from marketplaces that we didn't see before that could pay farmers on the land. Like I know ESG is not a popular word now, but corporate spending on impacts of any kind can accrue to us to help solve their problems, for instance. And we work on opening up that extensive marketplace. This program, when I started in 2006, I was just the third participant. We've grown this up now to be 40 communities in 6 Canadian provinces. We've opened in Defiance, Ohio, just at the western end of the Lake Erie Basin. We have a lot of communities waitlisted. Our impacts in aggregate are around 150 square miles. Around 2,000 farmers are participating. Again, I mentioned to you the farm leaders that are in governance on this program. But this number, around 492 active partnerships, means roughly that every one of our communities that we open up in and give power to stimulates another 10 partnerships at the ground level. And this isn't partnerships that you're used to hearing about. This is partnerships more like with the Sarahs of the world. Small, local, highly knowledgeable, highly nimble organizations that want to be a part of this. We do a lot of things, the ecosystem outcomes that can include grasslands, something we call modified agriculture, changing things slightly how we farm. We do a lot of wetland programming, a lot of pollinator habitats, trees and shrubs, of course. And we also work on a pilot frame of a whole farm approach towards regenerative agriculture. We have 2 pilots right now. One is called Growing Roots for row crops, and one is called Grazing Forward for grassland and grazing settings. So what ALUS does, though, it works because, we give power to the community. This is really, really important. This is the opposite of a top-down program. This is a community, people standing up on their hind legs and saying, we know what needs to be done in our community, and that will accrue to the rest of the planet. Behind the scenes, we developed a really good data collection system, again, that helps monetize our work to help be able to put it in the marketplace. But we're able to clearly protect farmers' privacy, and we don't sell the data. We have a lot of academic research and technological partnerships, and then the quantification work and the investment work coming in from corporate and municipal marketplaces, for instance, is helping us understand that there's a broad marketplace to be serviced here. That programming just doesn't have to be for the benefit of the federal government, for instance. I mentioned the data a little bit. Again, this runs in the background, but we have good, high-quality data that helps monetize farmers' work. Our technological partners include really cool things like measuring changes on the ground from satellites. And then this is how we turn to our corporate community with ALUS nature-based solutions for purpose-driven businesses. So we have 2,000 farmers producing acre outcomes at scale. We're able to carry the value, the ecosystem service produced on those lands, and offer that to corporate partners, and they can pay for that output and get credit for it as well. So again, if you think about it, if the corporation is the buyer, that they're addressing their social impacts or their landscape impacts, we as farmers and ranchers are the producers. We're producing environmental outcomes, ecosystem services that are valuable to somebody, and there's a transaction in there, and the transaction revolves around dollars and cents. There's value for when we go to the marketplace, we don't simply talk about a water filtration unit or a ton of carbon or an acre of biodiversity. We talk about the bundle. When we do acre outcomes, when farmers and ranchers do acre outcomes on the landscape, that produces a bundle of benefits that we want the marketplace to recognize. Most importantly, because we're doing this at community level, the community leads here, the community makes all the decisions here. There's a social impact premium that corporations are paying us for. So we call this the New Acre Nature Bundle. And we've been in the market for some years on this, and we believe that this is the pathway forward for corporations that are looking to address their impacts. Now, this becomes quite interesting when you think about this. How do you put all these investors together, people that are willing to pay for our work on the farm, pay for our production of ecosystem services, pay for our stewardship? How do you make that easy peasy You do it this way. We have a funnel where not-for-profits, philanthropics, governments, municipalities, corporations can invest in the program. Those dollars get filtered down to the farmer, but the farmer only has to walk through one door. And that farmer faces members of their own community to make the decisions and payment rates and things like that of what's going to happen. Our database then allows the attribution to flow to the individual payers. So it's kind of a neat model in that we can aggregate together money from many different sources. Farmer in a community walks through one door, but the community itself benefits from a wide range of funders. Some of our community partners have funding from as many as 35 different sources that we provide. And that's kind of becomes cool. And the community partnership itself, ALUS has a pretty active fundraising and business development arm. But I just saw the stats the other day that our community partners are able to use their governance unit, their local ALUS community partnership model, and raise an equal amount of money from sources that are more local to them. Again, the farmer and rancher only deals with their own community. Paperwork is done by the community. There's very low burden on the farmer, and the farmer's in the program voluntarily with nothing on title. So
with nothing on title. That's something that's important for people to
absolutely
know. Right. This is not a government program.
No, this is a simple contract with the farmer that outlines the payment rates and what their obligations are to manage and maintain the projects. Mm-hmm. But the farmer is completely voluntary, and if they don't like the way things are going, they can walk away. That said, over the nearly 20 years that I've been doing this, we've retained something like pretty close to 97% of all the farmers that have entered into this program. People like it because it's theirs. That's a community gathering together to wonder how to improve this prairie pothole, this wetland in Alberta. If you've not been to Alberta, this is what it looks like in prairie pothole country, and make it better and make it function better and make it work better for the farmer on that land. So this is who we are. I think this is who farmers are. This is who I think all of us in rural North America are. We're focused on outcomes. We don't write reports. We're not in the newspaper. We just make outcomes. We just deliver in a very in a community-based way, and we deliver highly credible outcomes. Listen, if you're ever wondering, if you think, Brian, you're kind of full of hokum on this stuff, there's not really a marketplace for that in the world. Just bear in mind how much money these carbon capture and sequestration plants are gathering. This one on the left has seen $3 billion of investment, and it's going to get another $3 billion of investment before it can effectively put carbon up from the sky and into the soil. We do that every day. We do that like falling out of a tree as farmers and ranchers. This is the only proven technology for taking carbon out of the atmosphere and storing it in the ground, if this is your concern. It's a proven technology for filtering the water. It's a proven technology for making more biodiversity. There's marketplaces for this. Mm-hmm.
Hey friends, I'm excited to tell you about NASA. NASA Acres, which is part of the Earth Science Division of NASA, is coming to our area. They're coming here because they want to learn about how we farm, and they want to see if there's ways that they can help us. So NASA Acres is a project that we've been partnering with for several months now, and they will be here for ag tours October the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And we will be in Tillery County. We will be heading then up to Crest and over to Morton. We're going to be in a lot of different places. We're going to put that agenda up on our website on the homepage so you can see where we are. And if you want to come by and just see what do they have to do with agriculture, we would love for you to meet these folks. They want to meet you. They want to talk about maybe how you can participate and have remote sensing information available for your farm. This is a farmer-led effort. So if you're an ag business, or if you're a farmer, come out and just kick the tires on what it might be like to partner with NASA on an ag project. But it's not just carbon. I mean, it's not like all of these programs that these 40 communities have put together are all based around carbon. It's not that.
You know what? I'll tell you, Tillery, you and I talked the other day that increasingly water is going to become the leading issue around the globe. The reason I pictured this carbon plant is just to make people understand the scale of investment going into finding solutions are at the $6 billion scale, and they're not considering the proven technology that we possess, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. And water is going to become a massive issue. In some parts of the country, it's to filter it. It's in some parts of the country, it's to hang on to it. In some parts of the country like yours, it's about recharging your aquifers. There's all these things we can make work. But harnessing the power of the community and the people on the land is the only way this works. It's the only proven solution. And I think we framed up a pretty good model, pretty good method for how to do that. Alice, I mentioned you, Tillery, this program, this concept that we work on, it's not something we're selling. It's something that people in different communities adopt and take on. And we provide a complete turnkey program that they can take on and do it in their own communities, and then leverage the work that we've done in the past. But again, when you're principles-based, you can think this way, that you can highly adapt the programming to any landscape across North America, and understand that at its core is valuing people on the land with their hands in the dirt that can make something happen.
Well, I think that what I think is interesting about this, and I think people that are familiar with the soil and water conservation districts will recognize that I think this was the intent of those districts. There was not ever an intent as far as them to be funded, I think, outside of the federal government, but they've always been voluntary.
Yes.
And they've always been locally, priorities have been locally kind of identified. But a lot of what has happened through the decades is it's become more federalized and taken away at the local level, especially, a lot of the vast majority of the money. And so we may have a small pool of money in each county to pull from for, certain projects, but they might not even be enough to do one project,
Yeah.
And so the idea though here is that the world knows that we're in extraction mode, and we're the only people that can help someone who lives on concrete.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the United States is living on concrete. And we are the ones. Concrete is never going to provide its own solution, and what's there is never going to be replaced by something all of it's going to be replaced by something, and at least not in our lifetime.
Right.
And so people can say what they want about farmers and the mistreatment of the earth. I'm like, do you know how much pesticides are in the city? Like the concentration of those things, what the carbon footprint is of a city, like compared to what we're doing, and you never hear that. You never hear that. Or has anybody ever thought about like the heat dome that these urban centers are causing? And we are the only ones that we can cool you off over here.
Yep.
And so I love the name. I love the idea. I mean, this is, I think, the idea that was originally intended for these locally led conservation, groups. But the idea that you have where ALUS can come in and provide, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No, we have a really nice working structure, and every group has their own autonomy and their own freedom to make their decisions. I think that's a really, really important part of this. This is us, all of us out here standing up on our hind legs and say, we matter, and what we do is for real, and what we do is today, and take the judgment out of it already. You need what we've got.
Right.
And it's not just food, fiber, and energy. It's this other thing too that we can provide.
Exactly. And one thing that farmers are so bad at is tooting their own horn. Like they
for sure.
They do not talk about it. And that's what I like about if you have a structure like this, the farmer doesn't have to do that.
Right.
They get to participate in doing the good, and the entity tells the story. And the entity brings in the collaborators, and you guys got some big, I saw on your slideshow, I saw General Mills and Cargill and AW Canada.
A&W Canada,
Yeah.
Danone, there's a lot of big companies that are behind this concept, and I think if I can speak for them a little bit, I think what they really like about it is that I think they value deeply the chance to speak directly or work directly with rural communities, right? And that's meaningful to them too. They understand that their whole business is built on people, it's built on the land, and we give them a good vehicle to try and reach those sorts of things. So yeah, but you are, Tillery, I think you grasp this in a really cool and crisp way that takes people a long time to understand. But I think we're just highlighting that, rather than sitting back and feeling like we're put upon and pointed at and worrying about and moralizing about where we're sitting, this is a way to reclaim the agenda and say, hey, this is what we can do for the planet, right? And that's a really cool place to position ourselves,
It absolutely is, and it's a way it's a vehicle for farmers to get something out of it that they've never monetized before, and
right.
it's another revenue stream. And we're used in our, a lot of areas they don't like, cooperative type things. We do. We're for the most part, we're not opposed to cooperative type things. But even then, though, because you're principles based, like even each landowner can create their own type of, okay, what is the system that I'm doing that's within the principles of what we're promoting. Yeah. And there's not this, lifetime easement.
Right.
Hey friends, here on the High Plains, we have got a chance to work with NASA's Develop project. The focus is cover crops, using satellite tools to identify things like when they were planted and how they're managed, and how can we build real research to see what value they bring or maybe they don't bring. So if you're a farmer, you're planting cover crops, we'd love your help. A short form will be sent to you with some basic information like your planting date, termination date, maybe the years that you had cover crops. Your information is going to stay protected, but it'll make a really big difference in showing what cover crops are really worth having in our region. If you want more information, want to be part of this, you can visit sarah-conservation.com. We'll have some information there. And you can also reach out to me at contact sarah-conservation.com, and I would be happy to put your name on the list. Thank you very much.
The people that come into our program are enormously creative, and they come up with some really cool solutions. Let me give you one really quick example. The idea of water flowing off the land and into watercourses, the concern there is we're getting phosphorus and nitrogen into the watercourse. Easy solution around that is to buffer that, right? But the normal buffer is you plant trees or you plant some tall grass prairie or something like that to intercept the nutrient. We've got farmers here that brought to our attention, well, why don't I grow my alfalfa there down by the river? And that alfalfa will scoop up, like during the growing season, a tremendous amount of that nutrient before it hits the river or the water course. And then here's where the farmer solution comes in. And then we take that nutrient and put it back up on the field through the cattle, because otherwise it stays there and it eventually will leach into the river. So we're productively using what we call a buffer strip to feed our cattle and produce the ecosystem service at the same time.
No waste.
No waste. And it's, but getting that nutrient and not letting it hit the river because we paid for it, and providing this water filtration benefit at the same time is really quite cool.
So, and the nice thing about that is, a lot of the only thing that I can think of that's the equivalent to what you're doing is, we've got different conservation practices and stuff that you can get paid for, or really besides CRP where you're putting your land out of production, there's nothing that you can really get fully paid for. You can get cost shared for some of it, so of the conservation, but as an easement. So where they're paying you 60 to 80% of the value of your land, but you manage it in the way they prescribe, either for, so many years or forever, and then it's, of course, like you were saying, it's title impactful, and so it's going to impact when you sell the land and all these things. This is so farmer driven, that even we have what you were calling prairie potholes. We have something, I think, that's very similar, playa lakes. I don't know that they work exactly the same, but they sound like it. And, you can put those, there's an easement program for those. But if you can't run your cattle across there, I mean, and there's no reason. I think it is because all of the programs that are being prescribed are coming, they're not grassroots. They're coming from somewhere off the farm and to the farm, and so in the Playa Lakes example, like we ran a program, we're wanting to show that we can have 50 owners, Playa Lake owners that would be interested in restoring their playas. Get those people in the pipeline. I mean, you can get people in the pipeline if you let them manage their farm. Let them continue to manage their land and benefit from the use of that land instead of taking it away and closing it up is what, and I understand, the ideas of like, this can't be sold to, for some type of, housing development or whatever, that's a different story. But, when it's a very specific type of management, it's offensive, like to come to a farmer and be like,
hey, that's where we started. This program started. The farmer who's generally credited with developing the idea is a man named Ian Wishart. But what Ian Wishart was pushing back against was a simple thing. Is I don't need an easement. I want to manage that land as part of my land, and I want to have the choice what land I put in. I want to have the choice to when I come in and come out. And that's sort of the core of where we're at. It's the anti-easement model, but at the same time, we've proven that you don't need easement to get long-term commitment.
Right. And it's interesting because I'm going to follow up, like we're recording several podcasts today, and then in a couple hours, I'm going to actually be recording a podcast with an easement expert. And, so we're going to talk about, and those are there are certain people that do well with those, and there's situations where those are valuable to people. But I think if you're talking about, a wide swath of land, if you're talking about really providing solutions to offset what's happening in the city, then you have to, it can't be a traditional easement. It has to stay in production, and it has to be farmer led, because they know. And when you tell them what you need and here's the science of how these are the things that get us there, then they're gonna take that into consideration into their production model. But when you say, and guess what, it might to offset any expense or yield loss. Are your farmers getting paid every year? Yeah, and that's the
whole thing. They're producing something of value every year. You pay for that value every year,
and the money's coming through. It's coming from all different sources, going into a nonprofit that these folks have started. They're local. Each one of these are their own independent organizations, or one that's already there, and then it's funneling down, and so they're getting paid. And I think it was last time we talked, you said, so then really nobody knows exactly, like, did this piece come from this organization or this organization? It's all put together in a fund, and everyone is cooperatively funding the work.
Yeah, the bigger problem with putting the fund together is not every corporation, for instance, wants to fund, say, biodiversity. Some want to fund soil health, or some want to fund maybe water issues. That's their priority. So sometimes the money has limitations on it. And we at community level mix and match the money. And we take the wetland priority money and put it in the wetlands, and we put the playa money and put it in the playas, and that's how we did it all together. we've got these wonderful tools that the people on the ground delivering the program, they're called allocation tools that we've developed that help them suss all that out. But again, I think as a farmer, I mean, I'm a participant too. I don't really care where the money comes from. I just care that I'm recognized for the work that I'm doing and the value I'm producing. And ALUS does the rest as far as putting it out in the marketplace. And my local community partnership also has their own money sources that they've developed over time, which is really quite cool. These ALUS community partnerships become really highly effective fundraising organizations on their own. Anytime you put community and grassroots and autonomy, all those very American words in one spot, it's attractive. It's attractive to funders that want a piece of this, you know?
Right. And people don't have to participate if they don't want to.
100%. And if they find the tide turns and they're not happy,
go on your way. Yeah, exactly.
Happily go on their way. So yeah, we've got it all works out in the wash. I mean, we do things very scientifically as far as making sure that the people that are paying for the programming get the programming they paid for. I mean, that's it, but while at the same time allowing the farmer flexibility. We use things like math, you know, to get not easy.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's great. Well, I really appreciate it. This has been very informative and just exactly what I wanted. And we're going to put it up as a podcast, but also probably spread it around to some specific growers and see what kind of collaboration might come up here locally.
It's like I say, it's an idea that people in the community, leaders of the community, they adopt, right? They don't buy, it's not for sale, they adopt. And we try and grow this idea together. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, Brian, thanks. Thank you for giving me your time twice now in about a week. So
thank you. And next time Lacey can come along too.
Oh yeah, not a chance. That one will get up on stage and talk to thousands of people, but she cannot stand to be on a podcast. And I think it's because she has to, like, you hear yourself later and go, "Wow, man, I sound like I was raised in Texas." So okay, friends.
Did I ever say A through this? Did I say A?
I don't think so. I don't think you did. I don't think you said A. Well, thanks for joining us, friends, for this farmer informative episode of Conservation Stories, and we look forward to having you with us again next time. Thanks.